The headlines hit like a thunderclap across the financial world. Oracle's Ellison surges $70 billion, Musk's crown at risk. For most people, it was just another news cycle, another flashy headline in the endless stream of billionaire scoreboards. But behind the scenes, in boardrooms, trading floors, and late-night conversations among investors, the meaning was crystal clear. Larry Ellison had shaken the mountain, and Elon Musk was standing right at the peak. For years, Musk had been the figure everyone measured themselves against. His fortune rose and fell with Tesla stock, with SpaceX valuations, with the unpredictable tide of technology and ambition. Some weeks he was worth hundreds of billions more than his rivals. Other weeks, the same market that crowned him king threatened to strip the title away. But this time, the challenger wasn't a fashion magnate or a retail empire builder. It was a fellow tech titan, someone who had built his empire decades earlier, and was now staging an unexpected comeback. Larry Ellison, Oracle, had long been considered a dinosaur, reliable, steady, but uninspiring. Its databases powered banks, airlines, governments, important. Yes, but far from exciting. Yet, under Ellison's stubborn vision, Oracle had pivoted. It had embraced cloud computing, chased artificial intelligence infrastructure, and signed contracts that stunned analysts. And when the quarterly results landed, Oracle's shares skyrocketed. In the blink of an eye, Ellison's fortune ballooned by $70 billion. Musk noticed. Of course, he noticed. He had never been one to obsess over rankings, but he understood their symbolic weight. Being the richest man alive wasn't just about ego, it was about perception. It meant investors saw you as untouchable, innovators saw you as unstoppable, and critics saw you as the benchmark to beat. And now, Ellison was climbing that ladder, step by step, his hands reaching for the same rung Musk had gripped for years. Yet, even in the face of this shift, Musk didn't panic. Those who knew him best said he even smiled when he first saw the headline. Because to Elon Musk, numbers alone were never the full story. What mattered was impact. Oracle could move billions on Wall Street, but could it ignite the imagination of a child staring at the stars? Could it promise humanity a second home beyond Earth? Still, the stage was set. For the first time in years, Musk wasn't just looking backward at the rivals he had already outpaced. Bezos, Arnault, Gates. He was looking sideways, at a man who refused to fade into history. Larry Ellison had declared, not with words but with numbers, "I'm still here. And I'm coming for the top." The world had seen billionaire rivalries before. Bezos versus Musk, Arnault versus Bezos, Gates versus everyone. But something about Ellison's rise felt different. It wasn't a young disruptor challenging the old guard. It was the old guard himself, rising from the shadows, proving that decades of experience and stubborn persistence could still shake the earth beneath Silicon Valley. Larry Ellison had never been shy about ambition. His voice carried the same confidence in the boardroom that Musk carried on stage. Where Musk spoke about rockets and Mars, Ellison spoke about servers, data, and infrastructure. On the surface, the two men couldn't have been more different. One was building dreams that reached for the stars. The other was fortifying the invisible machinery that kept Earth's systems alive. Investors began to whisper, what if Ellison really overtakes Musk? On paper, the math was possible. Oracle's cloud business was scaling, its partnerships with governments and corporations multiplying. The AI revolution was hungry for reliable infrastructure, and Oracle was positioning itself as the backbone. Every new deal, every spike in demand, meant Ellison's fortune swelled further. Meanwhile, Musk's empire was balancing on volatility. Tesla stock soared one month, stumbled the next. SpaceX remained privately held, its valuation dependent on launches, contracts, and speculation. Neuralink, the Boring Company, XAI, all promised futures but not the kind Wall Street could easily quantify. To the media, this made Ellison's challenge irresistible, the grounded titan versus the dreamer, the fortress versus the rocket. And yet those close to Musk knew he measured success differently. Titles meant little when he spent nights poring over rocket schematics or running simulations of AI behavior. For him, the scoreboard wasn't Forbes or Bloomberg. It was the launch pad at Boca Chica, the factory floor in Shanghai, the engineers burning midnight oil in Palo Alto. Still, perception mattered. Musk understood that better than anyone. Investors didn't just buy shares, they bought stories, and the story of Musk losing the crown was powerful. Headlines weren't just ink on paper, they shaped confidence, swayed markets, and altered the rhythm of global finance. Ellison, too, understood this game. He had played it for decades, often underestimated but never irrelevant. Now, with 70 billion added in a single wave, he had reminded the world, Oracle was no relic. It was a giant reborn. And so the rivalry deepened, not with insults or speeches, but with balance sheets and visions. Two men, two legacies, two definitions of power. One building engines that might carry humanity to the stars, the other building systems that kept humanity running here on Earth. Somewhere between the numbers and the noise, the question lingered in a world that worships wealth as proof of greatness, who truly deserved to be called the richest. The headlines refused to fade. News anchors debated nightly. Has Musk finally met his match? Financial blogs filled their feeds with charts comparing Tesla's shaky stock to Oracle's rising tide. Social media exploded with memes. Musk's rockets battling Ellison's databases in comic-style showdowns. For the public, it wasn't just about money anymore, it was about the spectacle. In New York, traders watched Oracle tickers flash green with disbelief. In San Francisco, tech workers whispered over coffee, "Ellison is back," and in Paris, London, Tokyo, the story was the same. The crown of world's richest was slipping, and people loved it. Humans had always been fascinated by thrones, kings, and the drama of succession. To see Musk, the futuristic dreamer, challenged by Ellison, the veteran strategist, was irresistible. But behind closed doors, Musk remained calm. He had lived through this cycle too many times. When Tesla soared past $500 billion, critics called it a bubble. When it dipped, they called it the end. When SpaceX delayed a launch, skeptics declared the dream dead. And yet, each time the companies rebounded, stronger than before. To Musk, Ellison's 70 billion surge was impressive, but it was also just another wave in a stormy sea. Ellison, on the other hand, embraced the spotlight. He was 79, but his fire burned bright. He gave interviews about Oracle's future, about conquering the cloud market, about being the silent giant finally roaring. His confidence electrified investors. They wanted stability after years of volatility. Oracle promised that. Musk promised chaos, and depending on the day, chaos either terrified or thrilled Wall Street. Media narratives sharpened the contrast. Musk was portrayed as the visionary gambler, betting humanity's future on rockets and artificial intelligence. Ellison was cast as the seasoned general, marshaling resources with discipline and patience. Two archetypes, two philosophies. The world leaned in, captivated. Yet, for those who looked deeper, the story wasn't just about money or market caps, it was about relevance. Musk had turned himself into a cultural figure, a man whose tweets could move currencies, whose dreams could inspire generations. Ellison, for all his billions, had never captured the public imagination in the same way. He commanded respect, but Musk commanded belief. And so, the question loomed, if Ellison passed Musk on the billionaire charts, what would it really mean? Would the world see him as the new king, or merely as the richer accountant of systems that kept the present alive, while Musk kept chasing the future? The crown was in question, yes, but perhaps the throne itself was shifting, from wealth to vision, from numbers to impact, and in that arena, the battle had only just begun. Late nights at SpaceX's Starbase in Texas told a different story than the headlines. While the world debated net worths, Musk walked among towering rocket stages, hands in his pockets, eyes scanning weld lines and fuel valves. To him, wealth was a side effect. Rockets were reality. Yet even he couldn't completely ignore the whispers. Ellison's name now mentioned in the same breath as his, Oracle's rise painted as a challenge to his crown. Musk had never denied the power of perception. He knew investors weren't robots crunching equations. They were humans swayed by stories. And the story of Ellison's 70 billion surge was intoxicating. It painted a picture of an old warrior proving he could still swing the sword. Musk respected that. In fact, he admired it. Most billionaires Ellison's age had long retreated into yachts and philanthropy. Larry instead had sharpened his company for one last battle. But admiration didn't mean surrender. In quiet moments, Musk reflected on the deeper divide between their worlds. Ellison built Oracle as a fortress, strong, secure, immovable. Musk built Tesla and SpaceX as engines, volatile, experimental, always pushing forward. One sought stability, the other thrived on chaos, which, in the long arc of history, would matter more. Inside Tesla's design rooms, young engineers didn't talk about Ellison's fortune. They talked about battery breakthroughs, about perfecting full self-driving, about making electric trucks durable enough to transform global logistics. At SpaceX, welders didn't compare stock tickers. They asked when Starship would finally carry humans to orbit. Musk knew this was his real scoreboard. Not Bloomberg's list, not Wall Street's graphs, but the pulse of innovation beating inside his teams. And yet, he also knew the danger. If perception shifted too far, if investors believed Ellison's fortress was safer than Musk's engines, capital could dry up. The throne might not matter to Musk personally, but it mattered to those who funded his visions. Without confidence, rockets don't launch, factories don't hum, and ideas stay trapped in sketches. So Musk played the game carefully. Publicly, he brushed off the rivalry, sometimes even joking about it. Privately, he studied Oracle's moves with precision. He respected Ellison's strategy, but never forgot the difference. Oracle aimed to control today, while he aimed to invent tomorrow. And history, Musk believed, ultimately favored those who built the future. As the rivalry intensified, one truth crystallized in Musk's mind: wealth lists rise and fall, but legacies are carved in the impact they leave behind. Ellison might pass him, he thought, but could Oracle ever inspire a generation to dream beyond Earth? That question, more than any dollar sign, haunted the silence of those Texas nights. The cameras never stopped rolling. News outlets splashed Ellison's name across their tickers, Oracle logos spinning behind glowing headlines. Ellison nears Musk. The throne trembles. The narrative had reached fever pitch, and the world leaned forward, waiting for the verdict. Would Larry Ellison, the unshakable veteran, finally topple Elon Musk, the relentless dreamer? At first glance, the scoreboard said yes. Oracle's stock kept climbing, Ellison's fortune swelling into record-breaking territory. Musk's wealth, tied to Tesla's volatile shares, bobbed up and down like a rocket in turbulent air. For the casual observer, the crown seemed to be slipping. But for those who looked deeper, the story was more complicated. Musk himself never played to the gallery. In private conversations, he laughed at the obsession. A throne made of numbers, he called it. To him, thrones were fragile, temporary things, easy to break, easy to lose. Engines, on the other hand, kept moving, kept pushing humanity forward, and Musk would always choose to be an engine. Ellison, meanwhile, basked in the moment. At 79, he had proven the doubters wrong. Oracle wasn't fading, it was evolving. Its role in powering cloud computing and AI infrastructure gave it a new relevance in a world desperate for stability. Ellison's surge was more than wealth. It was validation, a roar from a titan many had written off. Yet even as Ellison celebrated, Musk's projects thundered forward. SpaceX prepared for another Starship test, Tesla factories buzzed with new models, Neuralink advanced quietly in labs. None of it depended on whether Musk was ranked first or second on a billionaire list. His measure of success was written in metal, circuitry, and dreams, not spreadsheets. The world, however, loves drama, and so the headlines framed it as a duel: Ellison versus Musk, the old guard versus the disruptor, the fortress versus the rocket. But perhaps that was the mistake all along. It wasn't a duel, it was two parallel stories. One man proving he could still dominate the present, the other refusing to stop chasing the future. As the dust settled, one truth became clear: the crown was never secure, never permanent. It shifted with markets, with innovation, with time. But legacy, that was carved deeper. Ellison had his, Musk was building his, and history would decide whose impact endured. In the end, Musk didn't lose sleep. While the world argued over billions, he stood beneath a Texas sky, gazing up at the stars. The scoreboard of wealth could rise and fall, but the scoreboard of humanity's future remained unwritten. And in that vast, silent canvas, Elon Musk knew he was still playing the only game that truly mattered.